Good afternoon. My name is Renia Shterenberg. I am the executive director of the Bangor Symphony Orchestra, and I would like to welcome you to the Bangor Symphony Orchestra's pre-concert talk, which is sponsored by UBS Argosy Wealth Management. Thank you so much for joining us today. I would also like to take this time to thank our guest artist sponsors, Bangor Savings Bank, Tim and Mary Smith, as well as our concert supporter, Durigo Pines, and our season sponsors, Karen Foxwell, Laura Kimball, and Quirk Subaru. We hope you'll join us on Sunday, April 27th at 3 p.m. at the Collins Center for the Arts. For tickets and more information, feel free to visit us at bangorsymphony.org or call the box office at 207-581-1755. Today, I am co-hosting with our music director, Lucas Richman. Hi, Lucas.
Hi, Renia.
And we've got two very special guests with us, soprano Aundi Marie Moore and baritone Isaac Bray. Hi, Aundi.
Hi.
Hi, Isaac.
Hello.
So I get the honor of introducing them to you, our audience. And I would like to start with Aundi. So Aundi, I read up on you before we met here, and you have done some pretty fabulous things that I would like to just give a shout out to. I read that you were awarded the 2023 Sphinx Medal of Excellence, and that later that same year you gave your Carnegie Hall debut. That's fantastic. And that this year, earlier this season, you sang with the Seattle Opera. You were at Lincoln Center. You were in Washington, D.C. You sang Messiah at the National Philharmonic. You're going to be here with us in Bangor at the end of April. And then you're going to jet off to St. Louis, where you'll be performing a new work by Ricky Ian Gordon called This House. I mean, you're busy.
Oh, I know. Don't remind me. Music. No, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful to God for all the blessings because I know especially as a soprano, it's not, we don't always have all that work, and it's just because there's so many of us. So I am so grateful that people keep calling me and calling my manager. I do not take it for granted that I get to live my dreams every single day.
Well, and see, I was a violinist and we're a dime a dozen too, so I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to shift to Isaac. So, Isaac, welcome. I looked you up, although I've met you a couple of times here now. I've been in Bangor for about a year and a half, and Isaac popped into the office once or twice. I noticed that you sang with us in 2017. You sang Belshazzar's Feast by William Walton. So, we've seen you here in Bangor before. And then earlier this year, you sang with Opera in the Pines, the Bar Harbor Music Festival. You were in Abilene doing a recital and the Mozart Requiem. And then you also did the Blood and Breath operetta in the Vatican City in Rome recently. Now, tell us, who was that by?
That was by Lucas Richman.
Hey, Lucas.
It was what an incredible thing, Isaac, to have you with us in Rome at the Vatican, singing the world premiere of this new chamber opera. We went, some of our audience will also know Joelle Morris, the mezzo soprano who traveled also there, and it was just for two singers and chamber ensemble and two actors. And I think we have a photo of you in the Vatican.
Let me share that. Let me bring that up here. Look at that.
Is it coming through? There it is. There it is.
Okay, so explain this photo. I see Isaac singing, and I get that. But who is this woman in the middle?
So that is an actor, an Italian actress, playing the part of Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
And the whole story is about her spiritual journey after the passing of Jesus.
Wow.
And this particular aria is called Red, and it's the use of colors in their importance in a spiritual journey is part of what's being sung right now. in that moment. So this is in a chapel just to the left of St. Peter's. So it was really cool to be there.
Was it really that red? It looks really red in this photo.
Yeah, we had pretty good lighting.
Wow.
They projected things on every surface of the cathedral, which was really interesting. And
Yeah.
and it was in the, it was kind of, if you went out to take a break outside, you were kind of right in the shadow of St. Peter's dome. So it was a really unique experience. And Lucas just knows some very interesting people, and I never know what he's going to be up to next. So it was really an honor and a really unique opportunity to do something kind of once in a lifetime.
And the cool thing was that, I mean, it all happened very quickly. I ended up writing it 80 minutes of music in about 2 months. Um,
Wow.
and I, in that circumstance, I knew that you always want to work with people that you can depend on, and I could depend on Isaac, and he delivered big time.
Well, we're really excited to hear him sing the Brahms.
Yes, and
Very
that's
exciting.
it was fascinating to be performing music at the Vatican, the center of incredible spiritual growth and the history. And I've been thinking about this Brahms that we're doing, and the whole idea that it's not often done as used as a traditional. I mean, this wouldn't be performed at the Vatican because it's not. It's a very different kind of requiem as in the traditional sense, in that it's not about all the fear of the day of wrath. There's no dies irae in this. This is about, in fact, the reverence and the enlightenment, and ascending to a higher plane. And that's one of the reasons that for me this is particularly impactful and beautiful piece, that much beloved through history. And the roles that both of you play in this, I think are so uplifting and storytelling. I mean, if Brahms never wrote that opera, but I feel like what you have to contribute here is very personal, and it doesn't feel like that detached soloist singing a mass, but in fact it's a very personal thing. Is there anything you want to? Am I off base or?
No, not at all. I mean, for me, like I said, I am a Christian, even though I really, with this piece, when I read through it, I realized that Brahms is not necessarily so much into like the Christianity, that is more spiritual for him. And my aria or my movement, the Ihr habt nun Traurigkeit, it's he's the love of his mother, that I realize is how he's envisioning going to a higher place, that this is, don't be sad, this is, death happens, but we're going to meet again. And I adore my mother, and so I understood what he was trying to convey in this piece, and I kind of agree with it a bit. But yeah, no, it's beautiful, and it is personal for me too.
The Requiem is not attributed to a specific event or a loss, but it is thought that it is actually that he was thinking of it in terms of the recent passing of his mother.
Mhm.
So the fact that you bring that up is very impactful. And your pieces, Isaac, frame what Aundi sings on either side, which is, I think the construction of this is magnificent.
Absolutely, yeah. I think in movement 3, it's kind of lonely in a way. The orchestration is very sparse. The baritone is alone, asking the Lord to, remind him that, my life will have an ultimate, final destination, and will end. Teach me that. And I think it's interesting, as it trails off, the last thing he says is, where will my hope come from? And the chorus answers, my hope, my hope is in you. And I think it's nice that he goes from being sort of lonely to then the chorus, the multitudes of people saying there is hope. So I really like that journey in movement 3. And this is personal for me too. I grew up Christian, and I would say I'm maybe more spiritual now. And I really like the way that Brahms kind of casts a wide net with this. He's really, I guess he called it a human requiem, or when people were kind of pushing back on the fact that that it didn't follow the Latin text, and that Christ is not mentioned very explicitly in the piece. So I think it's really nice, it kind of mirrors my journey a little bit, to knowing that this has extreme value and spirituality is very important, but also there are many different ways to find that meaning in your life.
Beautiful, beautiful said. So let's maybe just share a few of the highlights of the Brahms being a romantic a composer from the Romantic era. This piece falls in middle of his life. It premiered in I believe 1869. So he was writing it when he was in his mid 30s. Mid to late 30s, and he's known as for the Academic Festival Overture, a piece that for me is that particular piece. I have a long history with Leonard Bernstein and being on tour. So Brahms has been part of my existence since a teenager, and his violin concerto, 2 piano concerti, lots of orchestral music and incredible chamber music. If you ever have a chance to listen to, I think he sings with everything that he does. The cello sonata for piano and cello in E minor in particular. I mean, it is one of the most soulful things you can ever imagine. The Liebeslieder waltzes. Have either of you sung either the Liebeslieder waltzes or hit Brahms songs?
Brahms songs, yes, but
Songs,
not the Liebeslieder waltzes.
The Liebeslieder waltzes were actually being written at the same time as the Requiem, and it's fascinating to know those and to hear the way that he uses the chorus in the Requiem, because it feels again, it doesn't have this stilted aura with it, but in fact it's very folky. It's the Liebeslieder waltzes are songs of love, and that's how his writing for the chorus feels in the Requiem. It is their reverent love songs with a more traditional text in a way. And these are the different movements for the piece. And again, I said it was premiered in Leipzig, and while it says 80 minutes, I think it flies by. It's one of those things that having experience, I've conducted it before, and certainly attended performances. You kind of get into a Zen feel of this. I think there's a vibration that just continues through the whole piece. It's remarkable, and few composers for me create that sort of environment with their music. Not everybody was a fan of the Requiem. George Bernard Shaw thought that it was a great work written by a very facile undertaker. Is what but I disagree with George Bernard Shaw.
I have a question. Either Aundi or Isaac, have either of you sung this before, this German Requiem? Like Aundi, have you ever sung this soprano part?
No, this will actually be my debut singing it. And like I said, I'm so excited that you guys asked me because I haven't had an opportunity to sing Brahms since college. So I'm looking forward to performing this. But yeah, no, and I don't know any of the other movements, but I think mine is the prettiest.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
there's true soprano.
I don't know, I don't know anybody else's movements. Sorry, Isaac. I don't know what you're doing, but I know that mine has got to be the prettiest
I
because
think it probably is.
so yeah. No, but it's beautiful. But no, this will be my debut singing it.
It's also the first time you've been in Maine, right? Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So looking forward to it.
You're
So
coming to
like
the best
I was
part of Maine,
telling you
I'll tell
guys,
you.
I'm telling you that I'm so looking forward to my lobster. I have, I'm a seafood girl and I cannot wait to try Maine's lobster.
So we were
Excellent.
talking about that earlier, right before we got onto this pre-concert Zoom. And Lucas, I think you said something like you're now a lobster snob. Can you
Oh
explain that
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit?
It's it's hard for me to even think about eating lobster outside of Maine. It's I mean, when you go to Los Angeles and you've got a surf and turf, it's like no, yeah,
Oh,
no, can't do it, can't do
it's not
it.
the same. And Isaac, have you sung this before? Have you sung this German Requiem?
No, this would be my debut on this piece too. But back when I was in between things, earlier in my career, I bought a bunch of scores of things I hoped I would sing, and because I was trying to stay busy, and I think I bought like Carmina Burana and Brahms Requiem, maybe something else, and so I had it all marked up. I think I learned it, and it's just been sitting on the shelf. So when you all asked me to do it, I was really excited. I was like, yeah, this has been years in the making. I've been hoping to sing this.
That's great.
Now,
And
Isaac, you're on the faculty at the university,
Yes, yeah, for
right?
sure.
So does doing something like this, in on your home turf, how does that feel with uh,
It
I mean, it's fully professional and everything, but these are all your people singing behind you.
Sure. It's I think I was just talking to somebody about this earlier this morning. It's really exciting to be at home, and sleep in my own bed and still get to do something at such a high level with a wonderful symphony. But it's a little scary too because if I if it doesn't go well for some reason, which I'm not saying that it wouldn't, it's all the people that I know at home will remember it, I guess. But it is very exciting for me to get to perform with my students, though, and they seem excited about it. They've been very supportive and interested, and I've tried to kind of let them in so they understand what this is like, because I hope some of them will be doing this in their career, doing things like this in their careers as well. So I
It's
am
great for them to see you in this capacity as
sure.
well, because so often, when you have your studio and you're teaching your students, but then when you go away, your students aren't necessarily seeing you perform in a professional capacity.
Right.
Andi, are you teaching as well?
You know what, I teach, when I have time, I teach privately, but I do mostly master classes around the United States. So I don't have a studio any
Yeah.
longer. I just got too busy, and I just couldn't dedicate the same amount of energy and focus that I really believe, especially young singers need. But yeah, no, so I'm not teaching currently, but I used to teach on a university level.
Now, how do you do the shift? How does it feel for you going from the reverence of Brahms into this world premiere? I mean, Ricky Ian Gordon, my goodness.
Oh
I mean,
my
how
God.
amazing. Like,
Oh my gosh. I am up like, so I have two children. I have two sons, 12 and 7. So I get up an hour before them to study my music before I get them ready for school. And I switch between the Brahms and this house. And this house, this particular role I'm singing is Lucy. She kind of sings a lot in the passaggio as well. So
huh,
it is actually perfect.
oh, good. We,
Because it's
we
sitting,
planned that.
yeah. Because when my manager said, Aundi, oh yeah, this Brahms Requiem, and I was like, Brahms? And I was like, this and Brahms. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so once I started really looking at it, and I was like, oh, it sits all in the same space. So it's not as daunting. Right now, of course, learning new music is always challenging because no one's never done it. So you don't have a recording or anything to listen to give you some sort of um, reference of if you're doing it right or what are the traditions of it.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, the Brahms is really refreshing because of all of this 7/8 that I'm learning. Da, da, 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, and then I have Brahms da da dee da dee. It's so refreshing. So I am overjoyed to be singing this first, and then I'm going to go to the crazy town of 7/8 and 6/4 and all these time signatures that I feel like modern day composers feel like they just can't write in 4/4. I'm just like,
Yeah.
write 4/4. Okay? We can do it. Okay? You don't need to be fancy, honey. Write 4/4. Okay? But no, but Ricky and I are good friends.
Yeah.
I've sung several of his pieces and, did several of his different workshops. So I love his music. But this is definitely one of the more challenging ones that I think I've done
Well,
with.
so that's interesting. I mean, with a relationship with him, a professional working relationship, he knows your voice. He's writing for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's do you see a difference in, is this the first piece that you premiered for him?
Yes, this will be well, because I do a lot of his stuff, like workshop stuff, and then once it's on its feet, the opera companies may choose someone else or,
Sure, sure.
but this will be no, this is not the first piece actually. This will be my second piece that I'll premiere for him.
All right, but he knows your voice by now, and so
Yes,
he's writing for you, and he knows
yes.
that you love 7/8.
No, he knows that I don't, but he knows that I'm a perfectionist, and he knows I'm gonna nail it when I
Yeah.
get it. But it's like, and you're trying to like jam it in your voice. But yeah, no, this will be my second premiere that I'm doing of his. But yeah, no, he knows, he definitely knows my voice. But I'm like, Ricky, and I call him and I say, so did you mean to write this like this? Is this exactly what you wanted? Did you
Uh-huh.
think of me when you were
Yeah.
doing
Right.
this?
Right.
So, but yeah, but he and I have, a great relationship.
Yeah. Well, some things just need to be expressed in 7/8. I mean,
Exactly.
Bernstein would not be Bernstein without 7/8. I mean, you look
Right.
at the Chichester Psalms, and it's just, it's got to be bum 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 ba da da da. I mean,
Right.
there's a certain drive. Now, when I was writing the opera, the chamber opera, I knew I was writing for Isaac, and so that was fun because um, with you being right here, I could say, hey, what do you think about this? And then when he had heard that I had written a high note for the mezzo soprano, he said, uh, "Are you going to give me anything high or
Gonna
something?"
throw a high note in there for me.
I
That's what I
debated asking you, but I was like, we're going to the Vatican. I
But it
gotta,
actually improved the piece.
yeah,
It made it. It's like it was perfect. It was perfect. So
no, I get because I say that to Rick. I said, so can you give me a real, just luscious line? And he'll be like, okay, no worries. I'll put that.
yeah, I mean,
So
to
it's
be able to
not,
have that contact with the
yeah.
composer. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, look, Brahms was living, breathing, and he was writing, for people. And can you imagine being able to have that contact with him as he's writing something like this?
Mm-hmm.
I love what you said earlier about the connection with the mother and your mother, and the maternal instinct of this piece. That really puts a spin on it, and I don't think it's without by accident that he really puts the soprano movement in the center, and it becomes this focal point.
No,
Um,
I'm with you. I mean, like I said, I don't know the entire piece because I haven't listened to it. It'll be my first time hearing it all the way through, starting when I'm with you guys next Friday, for rehearsal. But my section, I know is probably the most gorgeous section of the whole piece because it's just so warm, loving. I can hear the smile as he was writing it in my mind. I can hear the smile of what he's written and how he makes it soar. So I'm really excited about it. No, it's beautiful. And I'm a mama's girl, so I totally understand. It's sad that when we lose the ones that we love, but it's not a goodbye. It's just a see you later. I'll see you later. And so I like his thought process of it.
So I have a suggestion. You might want to listen. Just be prepared. I don't know physically how this feels, but um, I get very moved with this music. Um, and if you're hearing four movements of incredibly moving music before you sing,
Oh, don't tell me I'm gonna cry, Lucas. Don't say
oh yeah, oh yeah.
me
So
because I am an emotional kind of
Yeah,
person.
so you might want to be prepared. I'm just telling you.
Oh no. Well, you know what? We have two
Yeah.
rehearsals, Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday's the show. So give me time to cry those days because my teacher will be like, you cry at home, you make the audience cry.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna cry with you guys Friday and Saturday, and then on Sunday it'll be the audience's turn.
Excellent, excellent.
Perfect.
Andy, you mentioned master classes. I know we're really, really glad you're going to be actually doing a master class for us here in Bangor, well, in Orono at the university campus on Friday, and this is open to the public from 2 o'clock to 3:30, and we've got four singers. Um, Isaac, do you know everybody here that's going to
Yeah,
sing
yeah.
for Andy?
Two of them are my students, and then the other two are another one of my colleagues' students, but all excellent singers.
I'm
Um,
looking forward to it.
is in this kind of setup, Andy, do you now you're probably just maybe even seeing what it is that they're singing for the first time. Do you come in with a particular um, preconceived notion, or is there something that you feel like I am more able to help with a particular kind of repertoire? I mean, is there something that in seeing that list that you
Um, hold on, let me decline. Sorry. So to be honest, a lot of times when I go to master classes, I don't always get the list ahead of time. And a lot of people, singing it is my passion and my love, but it's not the only thing that I do. As most musicians, we sometimes have other jobs. And one of my other jobs is that I'm a realtor. I'm one of the top realtors in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And
wow,
yeah,
Wow.
on top of everything else?
I know.
Wow.
I know. And I have a team of agents that work underneath me, as well as I'm one of the mentors and teachers of the brokerage that I work for, Sampson Properties. And so let me put my business hat on. And I realized that, especially early, and I've been doing this for over 15 years, and I realized a lot of singers and musicians don't know how to deal with the business of music and singing and being a musician, and how to continually to make money and make it grow for them. So when I do these master classes, I start off tell the students of course about myself and let them know that they're welcome to ask me any money questions that may come up. And I teach them about some financial awareness and how to set up their own music business. And we start off that way. I give them three things that they need to do so that the whole class will get this. Three things that they need to do to start preparing now. Because if I knew what I know now, if I knew that when I was in college, I would be so much further along financially. However, I don't. I didn't know that, but I feel like it's my mission that when I get an opportunity to stand in front of college students or young singers, young musicians, I want to be able to teach this. So I have my own Instagram and YouTube channel, No More Starving Artist, and I give
Love it.
financial advice to musicians. And so I always start my masterclass off with that. And then I also tell the audience that because I make it a very interactive class, once a singer sings, I let the audience give that singer three positive things that they did well. Because in our field, as you know, we are highly criticized, we beat ourselves up, and we feel like we're never enough. And when we're in that big think tank, because I consider it like a mastermind, we're in a think tank in the master class. It's the time that they need to be poured in with positive affirmations, and so that they know that they belong here, they deserve to be here, they are enough. And yes, they may have made mistakes within the aria, but let's focus on the things they did well first, because we focus so, not just the students, but just in general, people, we look at the negative so hard. Like if someone says, "Oh, you look so nice," but in your mind you're thinking, "Oh, yeah, I might look nice, but this, my shoe hurt, my foot hurts, my shoe, you start thinking of all the negative things about why you're not completely nice looking. So when I teach these students and any students that I, come across, I pour into them positive words of affirmation. I also pour into them some financial advice, and I hope, and some of them have heeded it, and they reach out to me on Instagram, DM me and say, "Oh my God, I did what you told me to do, and guess what? I got a job, blah 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 blah." Trying to teach them how to build a business because most universities are so focused on the art of the music or the art of the whatever the the instrument is, that they don't necessarily remember that they have to create a business for it. So when I do a master class, this is also what I bring. I don't harp on technique stuff. Yes, I will correct if I can, but I want the student to feel really good about what they're doing and how to just perform and let go, because there is this level of perfection that no one is able to achieve. And we put that type of pressure, especially on classical artists. So I'm looking forward to seeing these students. I did get that list a little early on. There's only one song that I'm not familiar with that I have to look up and, kind of listen to a couple of times just so that I can give good advice. And that's something, it says something about something old England or something, English song. That's the one that I'm not clear about. Curtis, I believe, is singing that, but the others I'm very familiar with. But I'm looking forward to it. And if there is an audience of non-musicians I bring them in as well. And I make it extremely interactive. I make it fun because I do tell a lot of jokes, because just to take the pressure off and to lighten the mood because it can feel stifling sometimes, especially when the singer's in the hot seat. So I make it very, very fun and easygoing, but I definitely they leave there with more knowledge of how to also build a business in music.
That's amazing. Years ago, I was working with a gentleman named Paul Gleason who ran the LA Civic Light Opera Workshop, and he always talked about how people would do when they're up on stage after a scene and the instructor is talking to them. It's as if this is going on and they're not hearing anything, and like 20% of what is actually being said is coming in.
Right.
And I also recently was at the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, speaking to graduate students, and I told them all kinds of stuff that they never hear from anybody about agents, about
Mhm.
auditions, like really, really, all this.
Right.
So I love the fact that you do that. That's really great.
Yeah, I just wish that more universities and conservatories took the time to have like a music business class. One thing I can say about University of Michigan, that's where I got my master's, go blue, um, is that they did 1 year, 1 semester, they had a business class, and I was the only singer that sat in that class. The rest of the people were instrumentalists and conductors, and none of the other singers, none of my other colleagues joined the class for whatever reason. But I wanted to understand the business of it, and real estate really helped develop it for me. I was a young artist at Washington National, and Placido Domingo was who discovered me at the Washington National Opera. And
Fabulous.
I asked him, I became a friend of his after a while, and I asked him, I said, Maestro, how do you keep your wealth? Because I knew he came from humble beginnings like myself. And so he told me real estate. Now, he didn't necessarily mean he sold real estate, but he buys it so that to grow the asset, to have that type of asset and to grow his wealth. And so I knew I wasn't at his level yet, but I took it a different route and became a realtor and really started, beating the pavement and understanding it and loving that too. So I like making those types of dreams come true.
I love it. And I having a whole other side to you. Isaac, you have had those kinds of journeys where you've had something completely different as well. But I mean, recently, I mean, for years, but it added to a kind of a holistic life sort of manner of being. Did it not for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're saying, Aundi, because I think there was almost, at least when I was coming up, there was almost, it was a little bit shameful if you had health insurance or benefits, or
I know.
it's almost like, well, you're not a true artist or a true bohemian. And I don't talk to my students that way at all. I'm like, if you're going to grad school, if you're gonna try to do this, this is the, the reality of it. And sometimes I feel like a little bit of a buzzkill, but I'm like, it's not, things are different now than they had been. So I think it's nice that I feel like that stigma is going away. There's a small top tier of people that only sing, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy for them. But that group is so small now, and there's nothing wrong with trying to make a living. And
No.
if you can make a decent living and set yourself up, financially, and also get to sing and create art, that's a fulfilling life, and you shouldn't be ashamed if there's something else. So I think it's wonderful that you have this other thing and that you share that with people. I'm really excited to hear, what you have to say in the class and everything.
Thank you.
Well, one of my mantras in this period of my life is to only work with nice people and if they're talented, it's even better. And I cannot wait to work with the two of you doing the Brahms that's coming up. It's going to be so lovely.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here, and to our audience, come join us to hear Aundi and Isaac sing the Brahms Requiem. It's really going to be a very beautiful closing to our 129th season of the Bangor Symphony.
Yeah.
And of course the choruses of the University of Maine, led by Fran Vogt. It just doing an amazing job. I was so touched by the performances and their investment in singing my music as that would last year in April. It was really extraordinary. So we're going to have a great time together. Thank you.
And Lucas, is your music on YouTube? Can I hear it there?
Yes, it is. I'll
Fantastic.
send you links, but if you just look up Lucas Richman Bangor Symphony or other stuff, you'll find it. But I'll send you a few links for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
both so much.
I have lots of music for soprano. I've got a whole book of music. So I'm not here to shill my music, but I'll send you stuff.
Yes,
Isaac
send it
knows.
to me, but listen, it better not be 7/8.
Only one thing is. Everything else is in 4, I think.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both very much for joining us. I will let you sign off. We will see you here in Bangor on April 27th.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thanks for
Thank you
having
both.
us.
Thank you. And Lucas, you and I will stay on and we will continue to talk about what's on the rest of the program, which is
Right. So the Brahms Requiem is a meal unto itself, and it's like it's certainly substantial enough for a full program. When we have pieces like this, and like we did with the Mahler Symphony last year, I like to include a work that sets up the table, a little prelude, a little appetizer before the meal. And several years ago, I had the opportunity to take the music of Hildegard von Bingen and arrange it for string orchestra. Her music is the first notated music that we have, I believe, in history. I mean, that's actually written down. And
she was more than just a music composer,
right? I mean, here's a pioneer. If you go to the next slide,
yep.
I mean, this is she was prolific. I mean, this is
She was.
extraordinary.
She
And
was.
if you look up the name Hildegard von Bingen, you'll see that the incredible things that she wrote in prose and text, and in addition to the music,
Yeah.
and even invented a language. I mean,
Pretty impressive. And then you're right about her music. At least when I was in college, she is somebody that, as a music, uh, as someone who studies music in either undergraduate or graduate, you end up studying Hildegard von Bingen. You talk about Gregorian chant and her name comes up. You talk about early composers, her name comes up. And you were nice enough to supply us with this image over here. Can you explain the image that we're seeing here?
So early notation, how do you write down pitch to show a difference of the relationships of high and low? How does that go down? And when you're trying to first figure out how to write it down, how do you determine the length of a piece of a note? How long you're going to hold it? So what you're seeing here is an early version of what ended up being the 5-line musical staff that we know, like in treble clef, E, G, B, D, F. So you see a few different lines across the page, but there's basically one dark line, and all the dots around it suggest, okay, these are different, higher or lower. And there are little flags which indicate that the voice goes up or down, or a thicker perpendicular, like a horizontal, vertical line might suggest a different kind of duration. It's hard to know what this is if you just look at it and you only know modern notation. But once you find out what the code is, as a modern musicologist, to crack it, then actually people have taken this music and written it in modern notation. So I was able to use a modern edition of the Symphonia Armonie Celestium Revelationem, and assemble her melodies into a piece for string orchestra called Ophelia Israel. And it basically takes her chants and arranges it in such a way that it is I wanted to set up the feeling of you're in a cathedral. So it begins with a drone that for a long time, and basically in plain chant, as if that the monks or the nuns are chanting, and that's how the string orchestra plays and sings, essentially with their instruments over this drone. Slowly it evolves into a kind of polyphony because you have an echo in the cathedral. So you get that idea they're singing the same thing, but it is slightly dispelled as you have echo. And then I feature the solo viola in the middle, because the viola, being so close to the female voice in that particular range, is like von Bingen's voice singing through the piece.
Oh, beautiful.
And it ends with a very simple sort of chorale. Most of her music was not written with actual harmony, like you think of a C major chord and F chord. So it's not harmonized, but I did harmonize one of the melodies at the very end for a kind of chorale finish. And that sets up the Brahms in a really beautiful way, as we just have a collective before the Brahms begins. Yeah.
Beautiful. And can I ask you what your inspiration was for arranging this particular piece of hers? Was there like something that drew
So
you to
when I
the
was in
melodies,
Knoxville
or?
with the Knoxville Symphony, we would do every year, specifically a whole concert with just music by female composers. And as there wasn't I didn't know of a piece, an instrumental piece using von Bingen's music. I thought, well, then I will make that piece.
Oh,
Uh, uh, so to represent women by music by female composers across the ages.
mhm.
So
For the
that
orchestra,
was
right?
for,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly, for orchestra.
got it. Wow,
So,
that's great. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Fabulous. Well, thank you. I think this has been really informative. How fun is it to have Aundi and Isaac gonna
Absolutely.
joining us at the end of the
Oh,
month
they're
here?
such great artists. I mean,
Yeah,
the voices are just, they're stunning voices, and
yeah, it's going to be great. So
yeah.
let me just remind our listeners here that we are doing the concert live and in person at the Collins Center, but you can also get a digital concert ticket. The digital concert release is May 2nd through May 16th. And so if you come to the concert and you just want to see it again, you can get a digital concert ticket, or if you miss it, you'll be able to watch it digitally. This concert will also be broadcast on Maine Public Classical on May 14th at 8 p.m. That's on mainepublic.org or 106.1 FM here in Bangor. And again, just a reminder that Aundi will be doing a masterclass on Friday, April 25th from 2 to 3:30 p.m. at the Minsky Recital Hall at the University of Maine. That's the Orono campus. It
And
is
that's prior to the concert on the 27th
7th. That's
at
right.
3
Yes.
o'clock.
Yep.
Yes.
It's 2 days. That's right. 2 days before the performance. Yep. And there will be 4 university students participating in that from the University of Maine. And our upcoming concert after our masterworks are done is going to be Star Wars: A New Hope in concert, film live to orchestra on May 3rd and 4th at the Collins Center. There's a few tickets left, so if you're interested, please go to our website or call the Collins Center for information about that. And at the April 27th concert, we are going to be revealing our 25-26 season, which will be our 130th season. So another reason not to miss that concert. I just want to thank you very much for joining us for this pre-concert talk sponsored by UBS Argosy Wealth Management. And we hope to see many of you on April 27th at our concert.
Yes. Yes. For Brahms Requiem. It's going to be a great way to finish our season, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucas. Bye.
Thanks, Eddie.